The function of the miracle worker. That is the section we are on. It is section 5, chapter 2 of A Course in Miracles. So let's get to it. Before miracle workers are ready to undertake their function in this world, it is essential that they fully understand the fear of release. Otherwise, they may unwittingly foster the belief that release is imprisonment, a belief that is already very prevalent. This misperception arises in turn from the belief that harm can be limited to the body. That is because of the underlying fear that the mind can hurt itself. None of these errors is meaningful because the miscreations of the mind do not really exist. Okay? So there is no harm to anything that really exists. Nothing can hurt anything that really exists. And the miscreations of the mind do not really exist, so that they cannot hurt, they cannot harm, because they don't exist. This recognition is a far better protective device than any form of level confusion, because it introduces correction at the level of the error. So this is the atonement again, right? It's this idea that we cannot be harmed. Miscreations of the mind, which are everything you see. This world, everything in this world is a miscreation of the mind, and it cannot harm you. That is what the atonement is. Error cannot harm you. It is essential to remember that only the mind can create, and that correction belongs at the thought level. To amplify an earlier statement, spirit is already perfect and therefore does not require correction. The body does not exist except as a learning device for the mind. This learning device is not subject to errors of its own because it cannot create. It is obvious then that inducing the mind to give up its miscreations is the only application of creative ability that is truly meaningful. I want to back up a little bit where it says the body does not exist except as a learning device for the mind. And I've come to realize, at least for myself, it helps in my understanding when I broaden the definition of body. Okay, he's not just talking about your physical body here, your physicality. The body and the life of the body, right? This life that we are living in this dream world, and everything that goes along with being a body is the body. And it does none of it exist except as a learning device. And what is it teaching? What is the learning device? How is it being used? It's helping you to see, to give up, to induce your mind to give up its miscreations. So the more that this world, the life of the body, the world of the body is a learning device, and we can learn through this, oh, guess what? We don't want this anymore. That's its only creative purpose, is to have us realize that we do not want it, to give up our miscreations. Magic is the mindless or the miscreative use of mind. Physical medications are forms of spells, but if you are afraid to use the mind to heal, you should not attempt to do so. The very fact that you are afraid makes your mind vulnerable to miscreation. You are therefore likely to misunderstand any healing that might occur, and because egocentricity and fear usually occur together, you may be unable to accept the real source of the healing. Under these conditions, it is safer for you to rely temporarily on physical healing devices because you cannot misperceive them as your own creations. As long as your sense of vulnerability persists, you should not attempt to perform miracles. So remember, to perform miracles, we need to be in miracle mindedness, which is in right mindedness. So if there's any fear in us, that just can't happen. If there's fear, there can't be total love, right? So when we're feeling fearful, it's best to do what we need to do to get us out of that state of fear, whatever's going to bring us peace. And what he's saying here is about we can't misperceive. If we use medication, then we give the healing power to the medication, which is better than giving it to something that would frighten us. Okay, so that's basically what he's saying. The main concern is you not to be frightened, you not to be in fear, because then you can't perform miracles. I have already said that miracles are expressions of miracle mindedness, and miracle mindedness means right mindedness. The right minded neither exalt nor depreciate the mind of the miracle worker or the miracle receiver. However, as a correction, the miracle need not await the right mindedness of the receiver. In fact, its purpose is to restore him to his right mind. It is essential, however, that the miracle worker be in his right mind, however briefly, or he will be unable to reestablish right mindedness in someone else. Okay. And I love that. He has to be in his right mind, however briefly. Like, you know, we don't stay there, but if we're in it for that moment and we can perform a miracle in that moment, awesome. That's all that's required. The healer who relies on his own readiness is endangering his understanding. I have a siren coming. We'll see if it's going to interrupt us. Doesn't sound like it. Okay. The healer who relies on his own readiness is endangering his understanding. You are perfectly safe as long as you are completely unconcerned about your readiness, but maintain a constant trust in mine. Okay, so you don't need to worry about your readiness. Just know that Jesus is with you and he's ready and he's there to help. If your miracle working inclinations are not functioning properly, it is always because fear has intruded on your right mindedness and has turned it upside down. All forms of not right mindedness are the result of refusal to accept the atonement for yourself. If you do not accept it, you are in a position to recognize that those who need healing are if you do accept it, the atonement, you are in a position to recognize that those who need healing are simply those who have not realized that right mindedness is healing. Okay. So they haven't realized what the healing is, that the healing is the atonement is realizing, oh, this is not real. This cannot hurt me. That is the healing. The sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. That's it. That's all we have to do is continually remember that we are safe, okay? That we cannot be harmed. And from there, we're naturally expressing love. This means you recognize that mind is the only creative level and that its errors are healed by the atonement. Once you accept this, your mind can only heal. By denying your mind any destructive potential and reinstating its purely constructive powers, you place yourself in a position to undo the level confusion of others. So by denying your mind any destructive potential, it cannot do anything that's going to hurt you. Nothing can hurt you. Okay? And reinstating its purely constructive powers, it can only extend your real mind, your real identity. Okay? The message you then give to them, these are others. Okay, let me write that again. Any destructive potential, reinstates purely constructive powers, you place yourself in a position to undo the level confusion of others. The message you then give to them is the truth that their minds are similarly constructive and their miscreations cannot hurt them. By affirming this, you release the mind from over-evaluating its own learning device and restore the mind to its true position as the learner. Again, separating the learner from the learning device. The learning device is the life of the body, the life in the body world. The learner is the mind. The lesson is that we no longer want the world or the learning device, that we feel better. Our mind is more at peace. We are with one and peace and harmony when we choose right-mindedness, when we choose the truth instead of illusion. It should be emphasized again that the body does not learn any more than it creates. As a learning device, it merely follows the learner, but if it is falsely endowed with self-initiative, it becomes a serious obstruction to the very learning it should facilitate. Only the mind is capable of illumination. Spirit is already illuminated, and the body in itself is too dense. The mind, however, can bring its illumination to the body by recognizing that it is not the learner, the body is not the learner, and is therefore unamenable to learning. The body is, however, easily brought into alignment with a mind that has learned to look beyond it toward the light. Okay, so the mind is learning to give up the body life and to turn towards the light. Corrective learning always begins with the awakening of spirit and the turning away from the belief in physical sight. Okay, so I can't believe it. Used to be that saying, like, I'll believe it when I can see it, right? So if we can see it with my own eyes, then I'll believe it. And what he's saying here is, no, don't rely on your physical sight. There's nothing that it's showing you that's the truth. Corrective learning always begins with the awakening of spirit and the turning away from the belief in physical sight. This often entails fear because you are afraid of what your spiritual sight will show you. I said before that the Holy Spirit cannot see error and is capable only of looking beyond it to the defense of atonement. There is no doubt that this may produce discomfort. Yet the discomfort is not the final outcome of the perception. When the Holy Spirit is permitted to look upon the defilement of the altar, he also looks immediately toward the atonement. Nothing he perceives can induce fear. Everything that results from spiritual awareness is merely channelized toward correction. Discomfort is aroused only to bring the need for correction into awareness. So whenever we're not comfortable, whenever I'm feeling discomfort, that's my clue. That's the alarm clock going off saying, oh, I need correction, something has happened. The fear of healing arises in the end from an unwillingness to accept unequivocally that healing is necessary. And healing is giving up the world. Okay, so we have an unwillingness to accept unequivocally that this is necessary, that we have to give up the world, right? I mean, we do. What the physical eye sees is not corrective, nor can error be corrected by any device that can be seen physically. Again, nothing you can see with your eyes has any power, including corrective power. As long as you believe in what your physical sight tells you, your attempts at correction will be misdirected. The real vision is obscured because you cannot endure to see your own defiled altar. Okay, there's a fear to look within, so we look without. We project out that we can see it outside of us. But since the altar has been defiled, your state becomes doubly dangerous unless it is perceived. Unless you realize that this is all happening inside of you and it's your own altar that's been defiled from inside, and you're just projecting out there, then you're lost, right? So it's that recognition, oh, this is inside me. This is coming from me. This is my responsibility. It's not coming from outside. Healing is an ability that developed after the separation, before which it was unnecessary. Like all aspects of the belief in space and time, it is temporary. However, as long as time persists, healing is needed as a means of protection. This is because healing rests on charity, and charity is a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even if you cannot perceive it in yourself. Most of the loftier concepts of which you are capable now are time-dependent. Charity is really a weaker reflection of a much more powerful love encompassment that is far beyond any form of charity you can conceive of as yet. Charity is essential to right-mindedness in the limited sense in which it can now be obtained. Charity is a way of looking at another as if he had already gone far beyond his actual accomplishments in time. Since his own thinking is faulty, he cannot see the atonement for himself, or he would have no need of charity. The charity that is accorded him is both an acknowledgement that he needs help and a recognition that he will accept it. Both of these perceptions clearly imply their dependence on time, making it apparent that charity still lies within the limitations of this world. I said before that only revelation transcends time. The miracle as an expression of charity, again, so an expression of charity, so seeing our brother far beyond where he is in time, knowing that he needs healing and he will be healed and he has accepted it and he will accept it. And all of this other stuff is not important, right? That's charity. The charity that is accorded to him is both an acknowledgement that he needs help and a recognition that he will accept it. Both of these perceptions clearly imply their dependence on time, making it apparent that charity still lies within the limitations of this world. I said before that only revelation transcends time. The miracle, as an expression of charity, can only shorten it. It must be understood, however, that whenever you offer a miracle to another, you are shortening the suffering of both of you. This corrects retroactively as well as progressively. So it corrects the past and going forward in the future, right? Just like when we ask Holy Spirit to undo all the consequences of our wrong decision when we choose again, that includes the consequences from the past that we've carried with us. Same thing. Miracles work in the past. Go back, behind you, and in front of you. So next week, we're going to get into the next section in here, which is the special principles of miracle workers. So we're learning more about what it takes to be a miracle worker. And I'm so happy that you're here. I love you. Bye-bye.